You are going to love this journey because this is one in a lifetime journey. 100 is the ideal batch size, but we can, if we find 500 deserving candidates, we'll definitely have those 500. State Bank of India is the largest bank of India, and we provide a seed funding of maximum up to 11 lakh rupees. You are actually doing what government is supposed to do. To be in those 0.13%, your application needs to be stood out. We also provide travel reimbursement. So anyone who is traveling for our interviews are reimbursed to and fro journey for their third AC fare. People from Nepal, Bhutan, they also have want some time to come to India and do the fellowships. We are expecting to close on 30th April. Key stakeholders that are more than happy to have you back after your fellowship ends. Our interaction in this podcast will definitely going to help those people who are seeing this fellowship as a chance to explore something new.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth podcast of Developmentwala, where we are decoding our social sector. Today, we have a very special guest, Nilesh Tripathi, and he will be introducing himself to you all. So, yeah, Nilesh, hi.
Thank you so much, Preetham, for having me over here. As far as my introduction, I am Nilesh. I belong to Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. I have done my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and post my engineering, I end up working in an automobile company for 2.5 years. Then I realized that no, I'm not happy with what I'm doing currently, so started exploring. And development sector was something which was like which attracted me most. So I end up applying for this Youth for India fellowship in back in 2021. Luckily, I got selected for this fellowship, and then I was placed with a partner NGO called Gram Vikas in Odisha. And as a part of my fellowship project, I worked on water thematic area, and the project was basically helping rural tribal communities to meet their irrigation demand. They were not able to use the water that they had for irrigation because of some logistic constraints. So I tried to solve those problems. And post my fellowship, I felt like that the important of engineering is more on the ground, and I should be on the ground using my technical expertise to solve real life solutions. So I end up working in the same NGO for 6 months. I think we were working on a project, and then I think June 2023 when I got a call from fellowship team that do you want to join back and help us in streamlining the fellowship. Then I joined the team as that. Back then, my role was to mentor fellows and partner with the NGOs that we have. And I think from last 2 years, I'm handling selection process of the fellowship. So currently, my role is to see the inward of the youth who's coming to the fellowship. So that's all about me.
Thank you, Nilesh, for introducing yourself very well. And that's why we can, title this episode as Engineering Social Change from the
Yes.
assembly line to SBI Youth for India Fellowship. Before jumping ahead into what the fellowship is and all the processes, I would like to ask you, like, what inspired you to explore the transition from technical career to, this fellowship social sector?
Yeah. So behind that, there is a story. So there's an organization called Robin Hood Army, if you're aware of that.
I I, I am a Robin.
Oh, so I'm also Robin. I joined Robin Hood Army back in 2015 when I was in college. I wanted to volunteer. So at that time, we just started Ghaziabad chapter of Robin Hood Army, and we were the few volunteers who took that initiative to start a chapter over there. And then volunteering was like on every weekend I used to go and volunteer, and that gave me a satisfaction. And I felt like that I'm contributing back to the society which I am part of. So yeah, that was the time when I had got introduced to development sector. I got to know that there's a sector where you can make a career and help people. So that was something which I was not aware, because back in school days when we were choosing engineering, we were like, engineering is the more stable field you should go. And if you are like math student or science student, you should definitely do engineering. So that was the only rationale why I end up being an engineer.
Mhm.
And then when volunteering, I got to know that how we can serve society. And there's lot of work need to be done on ground. Government made policies, but actual implementation is very difficult. Like it's far-fetched goal. So that's where I got to know that I should do something. And then there was some dilemma. So I joined manufacturing firm. I was in a production line, as you said. I was handling. I was a part of Hero Motor Group, and we had some supplying. Like we were supplying chassis to Hero Motor Group. And then 2 years, 2.5 years, I worked there as a production engineer. But I was not satisfied with my job. So I was like, then I got to introduce some mentors, and they were like, you can either go and do masters in development from some reputed college like TES, as you mentioned, or APU. But I wanted to have more practical exposure because I thought that will help me understanding better
Yes.
what grassroots problems are. Then I got to know about this fellowship, Youth for India fellowship, and I applied here and got selected. And I said I was placed with the Gram Vikas, and then that made me realize that okay, now I can contribute. Now I know where I stand and how to make a career in development sector. And post that, since then I am part of like 4 years now, and I'm part of development sector.
I'm sure everyone in the sector heard about the fellowship, but if you could give us an overview of what SBI Youth for India Fellowship is.
Okay, so I'll talk about why it started. So it was started in 2011. So this year we have completed 15 years of existence. On March 2011, SBI decided to launch this program for. So they thought that there's a lot of gap between urban and rural citizens, and they need, as a bank, as a premium bank of India, they should do something about it. So they started this initiative. I think first batch we had only 27 fellows. They were four partner NGOs, and they were placed with those partner NGOs for 1 year, and they went on the ground, try to do something. So that's how it was started. Then they took a pause of 1 year, so there was no batch of 12, 13, and then based on reflections of first batch, this again it started in 2014, and since then it is running on ground. The purpose is there are two or three purposes. First is to bridge those urban rural divides. So we see that a lot of population are migrating to urban areas, and urban is developing, but our core of India, what we say, is rural areas. So and there those urban people need to be aware of what rural India is. So the purpose was to send those urban educated youth to rural areas for 1 year, for 13 months, and let them witness. So I hope you have seen Swades. So the idea was like Swades ka jo Shahrukh Khan hai, we have to send those Shahrukh Khans to the villages, and they have to like, see what problems are there on the ground and try to do something. So in our fellowship, we don't want fellows to do something like extraordinary. We want them to just be with the people, understand their livelihood, their daily life, and think of something. If they can, because of their knowledge and education and their connection they have, they can try to solve a problem that those people have. So this was the primary objective. Secondly, objective was that NGOs which are working on the grassroots, NGOs and CSOs, they are like, their work is very deep and they are directly involved with the committee. And what I have understood from my fellowship journey, that they are also an implementation partner for a lot of government initiatives also. So government also approaches these NGOs to actually implement those things on the ground, because they are much aware of how to get it implemented, how to penetrate into the community, how to make them understand. Because the behavioral change we all talk about is a very difficult thing when it comes to rural India. So, but those NGOs lack, educated youth. No one wants to go on the village and work there and for 20,000, 50,000 money. So there's a lot of, you said, human resource gap, and we wanted to fulfill those gaps. So because we are supplying, like we are providing educated youth to those NGOs, and there's also a good thing about our fellowship that 70% of fellows like me who have done this fellowship stayed back with those development sector jobs. So there's also transition happening from different sectors to development sector. So this is also a way of contributing back to those NGOs, providing educated human resource to those youth. And then at the end of the day, we want, third objective is to have a community of like-minded people. So till now we have around 711 alumni who have done the fellowship and are placed across the world and contributing back to the society. So we want to build a society who can actually go on the ground and understand grassroots and help like make India a better country. So yeah, so these are the three objectives on which Youth for India Fellowship works.
That's amazing. So you said bridging the rural and urban divide, but if you could tell me, like, if I'm a fellow or if I'm interested in joining the fellowship as a newcomer, will I be only positioned in livelihood roles, or if I can identify anything which has a potential on the ground? Let's say it could be starting something in education so that the students there, that their dropout rate should be minimalized, and then there could be tons of other things. There could be like skill building workshops or something that can be done on the ground for strengthening the skills of the rural youth. So is that a possibility, or only if I go there, I will be working on a livelihood project which NGOs and CSOs are already working in?
No, so that is not with our fellowship. So I think this is the, as far as I'm aware of, this is the only fellowship in India which offers you to you choose your thematic area, what you want to work. So we like, our fellows work on 12 different thematic areas. Livelihood is one of the thematic area, but like I worked on water, and then there are education, environment protection, and social entrepreneurship. So a lot of people who want to actually start their venture social enterprises, and they want to actually see if those enterprises will work on the ground or not. They can explore social enterprise. So when I was applying for the fellowship, I had different set of thought process. So I wanted to work on self-governance. And when I went to the community, I realized that water is the more pressing issue. Self-governance is a far-fetched problem for them. They don't have water for irrigation. How, like, what they will do on self-governance? So I end up working on water. So this is the, I think this is the only fellowship in India which offers you to choose your thematic areas, irrespective of your background. So let's say if I'm an engineer, I can go and on the ground, and if I find a problem on health, not being a doctor, then also I can work on a health problem. So it doesn't depend that what background you are coming from. You can definitely choose your thematic areas. And in fact, when someone joined for the fellowship, we asked them to provide their 5 thematic areas. So out of 12, they have to provide their 5 preferred thematic areas, and based on their skill set and what we think that they're aligned with those thematic areas, we place them to NGOs which are expert in those 5 thematic areas, so that when the fellows are reaching the ground, they have at least 5 projects in their mind which they can work on, And then initially 1 month of fellowship is to explore the community, because in our fellowship there's also one different thing that we place people from different region to different region. So I was from North India, I was placed in the eastern part of the country. So that's how we place fellows. So what we also tell to those selected fellows, that when they are selected, that they generally come up with the question that why, when, where will we place? So we place across 22 states in the country, and we told them that you take a map and sit with your home location and see what is the farthest distance from your home location. Be ready to go there. So that is how, because we want them to explore new cultures. So talking about myself, I have never been to Odisha before I did my fellowship, and when I reached there, then I figured out like, oh, how beautiful this Odisha is and what are different cultures where I never seen scheduled tribes. And I worked end up with TVTG group during my fellowship. So there is different kind of exposure I got, and we give it to fellows also. So it's like, coming back to your question, the fellows are choose like independent to choose their thematic areas irrespective of their backgrounds. We just want them to be a graduate from any stream.
Can we talk about key highlights like the program duration, age limit, the monthly allowance that a student or a joining fellow can expect?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to eligibility, our fellowship is eligible in terms of age, it is 21 to 32. So that is what we consider as the youth of the country. And then there should be citizen of India. This fellowship is also open to citizens of Nepal and Bhutan. And it is also open to NRIs and OCIs who have OCI cards. And then the third eligibility criteria is that they should be graduate, irrespective of any stream. So it doesn't matter they have to be from social work. They can be from engineering, medical, architect, and social design. Like any streams, they can be from those streams. And that is the three basic eligibility criteria to apply for this fellowship. This fellowship is of 13 months. We have two cohorts, August and October cohort. So August cohort fellows will be completing in September next year, and October cohort fellows will be completing in November next year. The purpose of 13 months is to at least the fellows who are incoming, they should meet the outgoing fellows. So those 1 month is for them to knowledge sharing, peer learning, and basically hand holding when they are settling in. And so that is why it is for 13 months. And like I said, we are currently, application is open for the fellowship, and we are hoping to close it by April last day. So 30th April is our last day, and then we'll be conducting interviews. So and in the part of fellowship, we don't conduct interviews. We have interaction rounds. So where we'll get to know about yourself. We'll talk about yourself, like the candidate journey as an individual, what they have learned in those years of their existence. There no technical question is being asked from any of the candidates who are applying, because we don't want people with expertise to come over here. We want people with intent to come over here and who want to actually understand the rural India and want to contribute and learn from those experiences. So we have a personal interaction round, and once they are like selected, we give them offer letters, like offer for the fellowship around June, July, and then they can join from August and October cohort. October cohort is basically, if let's say I was before fellowship, I was working somewhere and I had to serve 2 months of notice period. So I had to have some time to resign from my current job and apply for the fellowship. So that's where October cohort is also there, so that they can have sufficient time to make decision and resign from their current job. Especially in terms of OCI candidate, they have to do a lot of formalities when coming back to India. So that is also, there's a time duration for that. Yeah, stipend. So in fellowship, we don't give salary, it's a stipend. Stipend is currently 21,000 rupees per month, which has 4 major breakups. So out of 21, 16,000 is your actual stipend that you will be getting. And then 2,000 is travel allowances. So once a fellow is placed on a community, they need to travel to their project location or maybe to district offices. So for that, we provide them 2,000 rupees per month. And then 1,000 rupees is project support cost. So if there's a project which involves some small amount of money, that 1,000 is for that, and 1,000 is for skill building. So you want to, let's say, because we place people from different sectors to this development sectors, and while going on the ground, you realize that, okay, I need to have this skill. So that those 1,000 is to use that money to learn that skill, so that will be helpful in your project. So that is how 21,000 is broken up to. And then after completing the fellowship, we provide a lump sum amount of 1,10,000 because in our fellowship we don't do placements. And once you're done with the fellowship, you need to look for a job. So those 3 months you have to survive in a city. So that's how we provide 1,10,000 to survive those 3 months until you find a job or you want to do something else. So this is how fellowship looks like.
So can you tell me about why this fellowship is so popular in India? Like, what makes this fellowship so popular and extensively different than other fellowships?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, that because we have programs in 12 different thematic areas, that is one USP we have when you talk about our fellowship. Because what are the premium fellowship in India? They usually work on a single thematic area. So let's say we talk about Teach for India, it's basically on education, or Gandhi Fellowship, it's also on education, or maybe LAM Fellowship, it's on policy and everything. But in Youth for India Fellowship, you can choose those thematic areas. So there's an independent knowledge to choose those thematic areas. And when we talk about youth who is coming to do the fellowship, so we all know that how decision is made on any stream. So in 12th we are very young and we don't have that much knowledge to choose actually what we want to do. We
Right.
just go by the society. But what if someone who on the 12th standard decided that I want to be engineer, but later decided no, I don't want to be engineer, I want to be social worker. So
Mhm.
they need to have now they want to switch their career, and there that is where our fellowship coming. Okay, you come here, explore yourself, see on the ground if you are actually able to do something or not, or maybe how the community is, and that is where you can go for 13 months. And 13 months is a very small amount of time also. So usually the fellowships in India are of 2 years, minimum 2 years. So but this 13 months is also a very unique timeline we have. That is which is not very less, but which is not very more also, and that's where this is unique in terms of fellowships in India.
And like, can the fellows after joining in straight away be put to finalizing and deciding their projects, or do they get time? Because let's say if I'm from north and I have to choose a south location where I will be going and intermingling with the community without knowing their language or the culture, it would take me at least about few months to get an idea of what can I do.
Right, right. Yeah. So this was a challenge that is there in our fellowship also, and I think I also faced it. I went to Odisha, and I don't didn't know Odia at that time, and it was very difficult for me to adjust in initially 10 to 15 days because communities where I was working was tribal communities. They hardly speak Odia. Also, they used to speak in their native language. Which I was placed with Kon tribe, so they used to speak Kui, which is not an official language. Like it's not written anywhere. It's just a
Mhm.
language. You can just talk about it. So there's a orientation of 15 days that we conduct as a SBI Foundation, and where in those 15 days we prepare the fellows to be sent on the ground, because ground is also very vulnerable. You cannot go on the ground and do something. People are living there for ages, for decades, and they have some dignity over there. So we don't want youth to go directly on the ground and do like start making some comment or start doing something. We want them to first acclimatize with the environment. So those 15 days where we brief them about how their fellowship is going to be, we call development sector experts to talk about few things that is going to be exist in the society. So we talk about PRI, how PRI structures works, but because that is the basic of
Knowing
democracy.
yeah.
When we talk about villages in detail, and then there are gender is a very sensitive topic when you are going to a community, and then there's dignity of those people whom you are going to work with, that is also very sensitive. So and there's a lot of practices that we follow in urban, and we don't want those practices to be followed in rural area. So that's where those 15 days of orientation we conduct, and then after those 15 days of orientation we send. So we don't tell fellows till last date where we are sending. Based on their preferences, we have allocated them. We have informed those NGOs where they are going, and then on the last day we have a celebration where we announces those NGOs like, okay, we're going to this NGO to this part of the country, because
Mhm.
most of our NGOs are also working across the country. So if we talk about BIF ends up working in 7 8 different states across the country. So those states is also like decided by the NGO. So after 15 days of our orientation, we send them to NGO headquarters. So let's say BIF is one of the partner NGOs that headquarters is in Pune. So we send the fellows from the orientation where we are conducting to Pune, and then BIF will have another set of introduction orientation for those fellows, where BIF will tell them how they have been working over the years with the communities, what are the thematic areas that they are expert in, what are the thematic areas where they need fellows to work on, because fellows are someone who will be doing pilot of something. So
Mhm.
BIF will, like NGO will have another round of orientation session of 7 to 10 days, and then after those orientation, fellows are now well informed, like they have spent 1 month into the fellowship ecosystem, and they now know that some now know that what they actually want to do, and then it's fellows decision to what they want to do, and then we place them for 1 month in a community like where they want to work. And initially 1 month is to make them make their rapport with the communities, because community is seeing them as outsiders, so they need at least 1 month to settle in, figure out their resources, like where they have to eat, either they have to cook or maybe figure out somewhere where they have to eat their food, travel, because we also provide two-wheelers to some locations where public transport is not very frequent. So settling in terms of transport, settling in terms of basic facilities of daily uses, and then we also provide language support programs. So as you said, no, it's very difficult to some people, especially people who are going to five southern states. It's like the language is a bit difficult. So we want them to learn language. So there's a support program called language support, where they have to identify, or NGO also help them in identify tutor who will be teaching them to write those native languages, and we pay to those tutor from our side. So that is a language support program where fellows usually take 2 or 3 months to learn those native language to now able to talk to those communities that they are working. So language support program is there. And then after maybe for August Squad Fellows, in October, they have to come up with an idea like, okay, I want to do this on this ground. Initially, 2 to 3 months, they have to settle in, decide their thematic areas, start exploring those projects, and then they will come up with a project that, okay, I want to work on something like this. And then so that's how initial days are. And there's sufficient time to settle in and then decide the journey forward.
So, like, how, as an team member, or maybe whoever is in charge of looking into monitoring and evaluation, to just check on what's the status, what's the progress of the fellows on the ground? Like, how is it done? Is it through the NGOs or through the SBI Youth for India Fellowship team?
Because it's a partnership between us and NGOs, and it's a non-financial partnership. Like we don't pay to NGOs to host fellows. NGOs are like eager to host fellows because at the end of the day they are getting good resources, and also they are the ones who are contributing to developing India and developing those rural areas. So. There, once you go to a location based on your thematic area preferences, you will assign two mentors on the ground. So first mentor will be your local mentor who will be from the community itself. So someone local staff of an NGO that who have lived in those areas for years, for decades, they will be your local mentor. So they will help you in figuring out things like where to get vegetables, where to get your gas refilled, and something like that, and how to talk to community, what time community will be available. So usually in rural areas, communities are not available in the days. They are either available in the early morning or late in the night. So those timing, those what are the key person you should be hold of. So these are the things where local mentors will support you initially, and then there is a domain mentor. Domain mentor will be someone who is leading those verticals in those NGOs. So let's say for me, my domain mentor was someone who was head of water in Gram Vikas. So that person was my domain mentor who helped me throughout my fellowship. Okay, when I was coming with the idea, he was like, he used to give his feedback like, okay, this can work, this cannot work. Because as a fellow, we are supposed to do pilots. We don't need to do what NGO is doing. We are someone who's to bring innovation or try to look at the problem at different angle, because we have never been to rural areas, and in urban areas we have seen problems from a different angle. So we want those experts to go on the ground and see the problems from a different angle and try those pilots. So that's how two mentors are there to support those fellows on their fellowship projects or maybe day-to-day life. And there's one person from Youth for India also who is in direct touch with the fellows. So we have a team which is called NGO management and fellow management, and those those managers, program managers, are in touch with the fellows throughout their journey. If they are facing any problem, they can definitely reach out to those program managers. And we also do go on the field to meet those fellows, see how they are doing on the work. So team also visited those fellows 2 times to see how they are working. And then NGO is anyway always there to help them throughout their fellowship journey.
Okay. So let's say as a fellow, someone goes into the field, they have figured out earlier through orientation what they need to do. They have gone to the field, they have built the rapport with the community, they have learned the language a bit and started some work. Let's say I have identified some work in education sector, and I think that the students can do much better in the area. So I have started some initiative and I started working with the community till my last months. Okay. So tell me how the last few months, let's say 3 or 4 months, looks like as a fellow, like what they need to do. Because obviously they have the mindset that they need to go now. So in order to make the project sustainable, or in order to make it something so that it can be impactful in the future, what do they do?
Yeah, so usually I'll also talk about because you went to last month, but in middle of the months we also have review. So we call it first review, which we do around month of Jan or December, Jan, where we as a Wi-Fi team and the NGO come together to give feedback to the fellows. Okay, because course correction is required because fellows are trying to do something, piloting something. So as a mentor, we go to them and we say that okay, this is how you need to rethink your approach and something like this. So this is called first review. Second reviews also we happen around May and June, where all the cohorts. So we have two cohorts, August and October, and both the cohorts come together on a common ground, common place for 7 to 8 days, and where they'll be having peer learning. We'll be calling development sector experts. We'll be calling our senior alumni who are from senior batches who are now currently leading their organizations. They will come and give feedback to those fellows on their projects, and then last 3 4 months. So last 1 month is very emotional for everyone, and no one wants to leave those committees which we're a part of, because initially it was struggle, but later part of the fellowship committee also is very accommodative. They so there'll be time where you won't. So you'll reach up to a time where you won't be cooking yourself. You can go in any home and eat whatever you want. So because community at the grassroots are very very supportive, and they will treat you as as their son, their daughter. And that's very emotional when it comes to living those communities. But when it comes to sustainability of projects, usually what there are 3 or 4 situations what happened to any project. So let's say if we talk about my project, so my project was something which was on irrigation of farmland from a top hill, and So there was because I said that 13 months, 1 month is there for the new fellows to come and settle. So in terms of my project, the another fellow from like junior batch, like next batch came up and he really liked the projects and really liked the idea. So he took over that project. Okay, I'll now like do other parts of those projects. So usually fellows who are interested in alumni projects, they can also take those projects. So this is one scenario. Second scenario is because those projects were approved by the NGOs and NGO were involved in those projects, NGO take over those projects. So let's say if something is done on a pilot basis and NGO found out, okay, now they can scale up those pilots, they can invest on those pilots. So there is something NGO took over that project, and somewhere there are a lot of learning where learning is there, and fellows also want to contribute back to the society. So there are a few cases where fellows take back to those NGOs and started working with on the same projects, or maybe when it comes to enterprises, there are like I think 55 enterprises which are started during the fellowship, and then fellows took over, and then they are currently running those enterprises. So there are I think 10 or 15 those enterprises which are running on a scalable model. Like they have around one CR 150 lakh revenues, which was started as a small fellowship project. So these are the 3-4 scenarios what usually happen to a fellowship projects.
Do they also get some kind of a loan or maybe a financial help from SBI just to scale up something? Let's say if they have identified an enterprise which could be scaled but needs initial funding. Is
Yeah.
there
So yeah.
possibility of
So
scalability
when it,
through financial help?
when it comes to fellowship projects, we also have a criteria which is called at SBI Wi-Fi Sahyog, where if you think that your project involves some money and which you want to get, so we also support a maximum up to 1 lakh to any fellows project during fellowship. Usually in a batch of 100 fellows, around 42 fellows usually get those fundings of 1 lakh rupees. 1 lakh rupees is the maximum amount. It depends on your projects, what kind of pilot you are wanted to do, and what is scale of those pilots. If you are working with 5 farmers or maybe 5 women on their health perspective or something like that. So based on your scale of your project, maximum up to 1 lakh rupees is provided during your fellowship. But when it comes to enterprises, the fellow end up staying back to those enterprises. We also support them through alumni pitch fest. So there we provide a seed funding of maximum up to 11 lakh rupees. So last year also, so in the month of April, we have a Youth for India conclave where we invite all those 711 alumni to come and meet each other, meet the junior batches, meet your co-fellows which were there in your fellowship. So there is a program called Wi-Fi Sayok Pitch Fest, where those enterprises, those alumni who have started their enterprises, pitch to the jury, and jury, based on their decision, gives some seed funding from SBI Foundation. So last year there were 9 such enterprises which got 11 lakh rupees funding to initially support those enterprises. So that is also there once you become alumni. It's a call of alumni support initiative from our side.
Thank you, Nilesh. Let's go to a segment where you can be identified as a recruiter and you can look back into the questions back end. So tell me, you are now the lead of fellowship selection at SBI Foundation. So when you are reviewing applications, like what are the specific traits you are looking for in the next generation of social leaders?
Yeah, so as I said that for us, education expertise doesn't matter. If let's say if we wanted to do a project like we want a fellow to do on education, we could have easily hired someone who has already done B.Ed or MA in education from APU, but we are not doing that. We want people from different sector to come and explore themselves. So what we are actually looking is intent. Like if you have the intent to go on the grassroots, understand those societies and understand rural India and want to contribute back to those people, or maybe learn something like this fellowship is beyond projects. What we tell to our fellows also, that your fellowship project is just 20-30% of your efforts. The rest 70% of effort should be to understand those areas, because you are getting a chance to spend those 13 months with them, actually living as like communities are living. So we make fellows live in the same village where they are working, so that you are getting up with those committees, you are sleeping with those committees. So that is also very experiential journey, and those experiences will definitely come into handy when you are like after your fellowship. Let's say after my fellowship, I decided to become something in, and maybe I'm making some policy, or maybe I'm making a big decision. Then back of mind, I will have those thought process that okay, I was there in that committee for 13 months. I know what actual problems are. I know how the solution is going to be implemented on the ground. So that understanding will be there when you who have done the fellowship and who are now making a decision. Those experiences will come into handy to actually design a solution that is actually can be implemented on the ground. So that is where we when it comes to your question, we look for intent. There are 4 core values that we follow, that fellows should be respect for all is our major core value. So we want fellows to treat human as a human. We don't want to discriminate based on whatever bifurcation we have in our society. So we want respect to everybody. Respect to all is our core values, and that is what we always ask our fellows to do. And then service to community is one of the core values, that if you want to serve to the society, you're not coming here for your selfish reason, because someone cannot come here for selfish reason, because 21,000 is a very minimum amount that we are giving, and the purpose is that you be on grounded, because the communities where you'll be going it, their average income is 5,000, 6,000. So 21,000 is much more. Like I was, when I was fellow, I used to get 15,000, but those 15,000 was like big amount of money when it comes to rural India, because average income is 5,000. You don't have fancy restaurants to go and eat. You have to live with the community, and you'll hardly able to spend 3-4,000 in a month. My room rent was 700. My electricity bill used to come 20 rupees in a month. So what? And we want fellows to be grounded also. So that is why less amount of money. So service to community is one of what we are looking in any candidate who are applying to the fellowship. Then there are creativity. So we want fellows because they will be piloting something new on the ground, which was not there, which was there in some other form, and we want to explore new areas. So you have to be creative enough to look out of box solution. So what if not this, to what then how, if what if not this, how this, then how that. So you should be able to think out of box. You should be able to look at a problem from a different angle, different societal forms. So creativity is one of the values that we live. And then fairness is something what is our core value, that we want to be fair to everybody irrespective of their background. So respect to all and fairness is also interlinked. So someone who is like fair to everybody is something we are also looking from any candidate who are applying to this fellowship.
So let's assume 20 candidates has applied with the same value. Okay, but you have only 10 people to choose in.
Mhm.
How will you then define a criteria and choose the rest 10 out of the 20? Because if all have the same characteristics, it becomes very hard, because those characteristics that you have told us, like many of them have those things. So many of them come in this fellowship knowing that there's going to be less money, but all they want is to learn and do something on the ground. They are fair, they are nice, they have ethics, they have the creativity and everything. So when it comes to choosing 10 out of 20, how you will do the modification, or what goes in the back end?
Yeah, so answering to your question, we can have those all 20 because there's no
Okay.
limitation for us to have only 100 fellows.
Mm.
100 is the ideal batch size, but we can, if we find 500 deserving candidates, we'll definitely have those 500, because we want to contribute back like more to the society. That is like answering to your question. But that's why where our personal interaction round come into the picture. So in those personal interaction round, we don't check your knowledge, we check your how you behave so we conduct few group exercises, and there are a few individual activities also, where the interview panel is there to to understand how you are treating those problems, from what angle you are looking to those solutions, what problems that they are given on that spot on the same day. So the problems are different on different days, and there's a full round of back end work we do based on what kind of profile that we have invited candidates. So a lot of like back end work is done on during the interaction round, but we conduct the group exercise, and then those 1 hour of interaction where 4 to 5 panelists will be there, and they will be talking about candidates. So that, okay, in last 30 years of your journey, what have you done? What have you know? So if you are also seeing our application form, that is also very self-reflective. That will also take you to the things that you've done in those 30, whatever your age is, in those years of your life, and that is going to help those panelists in making decision that okay, now they think that no, these fellows can go on the ground and make no harm to the societies that they are going to serve. So Libby sir is the ED of Gram Vikas, and he's always there in the panel for a few candidates. And when I ask them that, okay, sir, what, coming back to your question, what if there are 20 candidates and who have the same values, that what you look at those candidates? Then he said that first thing that I look at these candidates when on the ground are not making any harm to the societies. That is the only criteria I have. Until unless that criteria is fulfilled, I select those candidates. So it depends on NGO, which NGO head is there. So in the part of panel, we have SBI Foundation people coming up, and then Wi-Fi team is there. Then we also invite those 15 partners, NGOs, EDs to come, because at the end of the day, fellows will be placed with those 15 partner NGOs. So their directors come as a part of panelists, and then we have alumni who have also done the fellowship back in 10 years. So they are also part of a panel. So those 4 people make decisions on any candidate.
So your profile particularly highlights interactive and visual storytelling as a top skill. How do you use this storytelling to market a 13-month rural fellowship to urban youths who might be hesitant to leave their corporate paths?
I think what usually help is my story itself, because back in 2021, when I was leaving my job, my father was not happy with my decision, because he doesn't wanted me to do engineering. I end up doing engineering. That was my choice, that I wanted to be engineer. Now, when I was leaving my job, he was like, "Why you are a mechanical engineer, you are now working with core mechanical field, what is a dream for every mechanical engineer, and now you are wanted to do social work. So what is this decision? Why you are making such a decision? And that too for 15,000 rupees, you are earning almost more than three times what you will be getting on the ground. And now you want to go and work for 15,000 rupees in a village in a rural Odisha. So he was very, not very happy with my decision. But at the end of day, when I end up working on the ground, and when so my father is also a bureaucrat. So when I used to approach him that, okay, this is the problem in my community, what should I do? Then he got interested in, okay, this is a very interesting work that you are doing, and no, you are actually doing what government is supposed to do. So then where his perspective changed, and he was like, okay, you are doing a great job, and now you can stay to whatever you want to do, you can do. In terms of storytelling, I think my story is someone like who was not from development sector but wanted to contribute back and don't know how to do it. So this is where the fellowship came into the picture. No, that has given you exposure, that has given you expertise, because NGOs are the expertise in terms of grassroots. And then there's also a backing of SBI. State Bank of India is the largest bank of India, and they are also like, even the chairman himself is very fond of this fellowship. He in every board meeting he's like, what our fellows are doing, how our alumni are doing, how we can make more support to our alumni. So he's also very much interested into, especially in terms of alumni, because it's a, as I said, it's a committee of 700 more, and like we are adding up every year, and these committees are a lot more capable of making changes into the society. So because of support and expertise from these many things, no, this is evolving. Like fellowship is evolving. We are able to like evolve and like make more impact on the societies, and that's we want to tell, because there's less awareness about this fellowship, and especially to the youth who are stuck in their corporate life and who want to actually come on the ground and live a meaningful life. Or maybe, and there's also, so as I said, 70% of people, 70% of our alumni have stayed back to development sector, but 30% have also gone back to their original sector. So let's say if Infosys previously used to give sabbatical to their employees to come and do the fellowship. Ratan Tata, so Tata also used to give sabbatical to their employees to come and do the fellowship. So, and when we talk to those leaders, that why, because at the end of the fellows are going back to being a software engineer, being a whatever automobile engineer. Why you want them to do the fellowship? So so there's an interview of Ratan Tata on YouTube also, and then he says that we want our employees to be aware of the grassroots. So that's why we want them to go on the grassroots, see the beneficiaries, the actual beneficiaries, that for them they are designing solution, or maybe implementing a solution, or bringing a product for those. So that awareness about society and awareness about people will help them making their decision better. And then SBI, in terms of SBI, also allow their salary staff to leave their job, like 13 months of sabbatical, and they also do the fellowship. So for bankers, it's not aligned with their what they're actually going to do, but then also they come, and SBI allows them to and for bankers, it's like they usually at the stage when they are coming for the fellowship, they are getting more than 1 lakh rupees as a salary, and they are leaving those 1 lakh rupees of salary and coming in, because the stipend is equal to them, so they also get 21,000, and they live in 13 months. And that is where bank is also want them to have a leadership skills, especially to those fellows who are coming on the ground. So bank is also allowing those, there's a 10% reservation from the bank, that 10 fellows should be from the bank who want to understand grassroots. So yeah, so this is a whole ecosystem where the people are coming, and through storytelling we want to tell them that, okay, go on the ground, see what problems are, live with those communities, and irrespective of what you are going to do after your fellowship, those experiences are definitely going to help you in lot more ways you can think of.
So once I do the fellowship, like what are the career opportunities? How it could be, improved for me if I have done, let's say, a master's from a social studies institute. I came as a fellow. I've done the fellowship, 13 months. Do you think my chances of getting into the NGO sector, or maybe wherever I wanted to go in, would significantly increase? Or like what would be my transformation
Definitely.
after I do the fellowship?
Yeah. So when it comes of what are the career option after fellowship? First option is that you can, the NGOs that have hosted you are very excited because they have seen you 13 months working with communities, and now you understand those areas. So they are the ones who first offers you jobs. So for me, when I was doing my fellowship, NGO says that, okay, now you can stay back, and after your fellowship you can contribute back to the NGO. So NGOs are the first key stakeholders that are more than happy to have you back after your fellowship ends. And then there are a lot of CSR jobs, development sectors jobs, that that actually prefer someone who have been to villages for 13 months, because 13 months, as I said, is a very good amount of time to actually understand grassroots. And specifically in terms of our fellowship, you actually live with those communities which you are working with. So those experiences, learning will definitely come into handy. And when we talk to recruiters outside, they want those, because when we talk to in terms of NGOs which are not our partner also, they have alumni working there. And when we talk to them that okay, and they come up with a, they come up with they come to us and say that the fellows, the solution that fellows put on the table is very different from someone who has studied development work from some reputed institute. But because fellows have been on the ground and they've actually understood grassroots, their way of looking at a problem is very different from what someone has studied and not been exposed on an actual situation. So lot of in fact lot of CSRs, or when lot of policy making organization has come to us and said that okay, when your next batch is graduating, give us your contact, we'll hire them, because we have seen from alumni that have done the fellowship are giving some solution which are actually workable on the ground. So that is the feedback is something what have given us the idea that okay, that is where our fellows are preferred and our alumni are preferred over other people who have studied the same thing.
Any tips for strengthening the application if someone is applying?
So lot of and what we are seeing. So last year we had around 76,000 people submitting the application, and
Oh my God, that's a very big number.
we have to shortlisted. So we have shortlisted around 1,100 candidate for the interview, and then we end up offering to 154 fellowships. So coming from 76,000 to 11,000 or maybe 1,100 was very difficult for us at that from backend, because a lot of people have using AI to write those answers, and we are not able to judge those candidates because their answers are not their answers. They have used some tools to write those answers. So one tip that no, I want to give to those candidates who are applying for the fellowship: be honest with your answers. Write what you think, because we are not judging you based on your English, based on your language, based on your grammar also, because we have applications across country, and then people outside India also. So we understand, and we also allow them to write in their own language. So we have applications in Hindi, Tamil, Marathi, so all languages, Gujarati. So, and we have alumni who help us in shortlisting those applications. So one more tip is that be honest with your answer, and that is definitely going to increases your chance of getting selected, because other responses are AI generated, and we don't want to, because all those answers are same. So once you go to all like 20, 30 answers, you're able to realize that okay, this is not written by candidate, this is written by some AI tools, and that is where because in our fellowship we want those 100. So if you consider 100 out of 76,000, it's 0.13%. So to be in those 0.13%, your application needs to be stood out. And if your application is average written by AI, in terms of average, you're not definitely not getting shortlisted for the interview. So to be shortlisted for the interaction round, you have to be you yourself, be original, and don't use AI. That is what I am going to say.
But a lot of students these days, they use AI to write answers to any application because it significantly reduces the time, and all they need to do is to highlight what they have already in their CV. Okay, so it's not something they are generating out of a wig, and it's some kind of a blurry vision they are putting into the answers, but it's all they have done. But because they don't feel like writing everything by themselves, it could be lack of knowledge, it could be the lack of confidence, or maybe they are not very well in writing. So that's one way they go into AIs and generate responses to fill in the application. So you straight away reject those application, right?
No, not straight away,
Okay.
but there's a criteria that we use. If someone has used AI to just rephrase their thoughts or maybe grammatically correct it, that is okay for us. But if someone is writing just AI generated responses, so that is not something we want.
Okay. Okay, got you. Um, so as a marketing team, can you tell me like what goes in marketing? What do you do? What's your daily day-to-day life is?
As a whole, we want to reach out to those youth, as I said, that who at the end of they have taken a decision to do something and want to explore something new or want to change their sector. So we try to reach out to those person. So that is where we reach out to colleges, preferably postgraduate college, because what I also think that post graduation is something where you take some time to actually decide that what degree you want to have as a postgraduate, because graduation is something that we have done as per societal pressure, but for postgraduate we have taken some time to reflect back on see what is going to work for us. So postgraduate colleges are where we are, where we do our marketing, and then as I said, people who are already working somewhere, like 2 to 3 years of work and now they want to switch their career and now they want to explore something meaningful. That is where we reach out to those candidates, and then like bank is somewhere the bank is allow their employee to come back to fellowship and go and understand and have some leadership skills. So that is where our marketing is. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. And so you have mentioned you have more than 700 plus alumni, right? And you have reached across 22 states. And Yeah, I can see there's a lot. And do the fellows also post or maybe share their stories of what they are doing somewhere on the website? Like, is there
Not
a
on the
page?
website, but on the social media handles, we
Okay.
cover fellows. So
Okay.
our social media team usually, no, and especially we are now we are there are a lot of journalists who want to cover those fellows, so they go on the ground and cover their stories. So there are a lot of blogs are there, so you can go to blog page of our website, and there you can find
Mhm.
what actually they are going to do on the ground.
Okay. So can you just tell me again about when does the application start, when it get closes, in both the two cohorts?
Yeah, so application is usually Feb second week where we go live. So this year also we went live on 11th Feb, and we're expecting to close on 30th April
Okay.
because we are getting a lot of applications. Like I said, last year it was 76,000 submitted applications. So
Almost a 2 month window.
2 month window.
Okay.
So once like after that we go on interaction round. So shortlisting is already on in the process. So those some candidate who have filled the application and they are aligned with our like what we are looking in a candidate, they would have received an email from our that okay now we are shortlisting their application. So there's a shortlisting committee of around 100 people who shortlist those applications. They go through each applications, each questions what you filled, and then based on their decision, so we invite people for interaction round. So interaction round is where we interact with the course candidate in person. So it usually happens around May second week to June second week or June last, and it happens around eight cities of India, depending on what region they are from. So people from eastern part are invited to either Kolkata or Guwahati. So people from west are invited to Mumbai for the interviews, and we also provide travel reimbursement. So
Mhm.
anyone who is traveling for our interviews are reimbursed to and fro journey for their for third AC fare,
That's
and then
great.
yeah, so they come for the interaction round, and then if the panel find them that they can go on the ground and do the fellowship, they are offered in July first week, and then they can join in August or October cohort, respective of their choices and their current notice period.
What about the second cohort? When does the application roll out?
The same process application is same for them. Only the October cohort people, as I said, people like fellows are who have to serve more notice period, like 2 months, 3 months. So there are some organizations which have 3 months of notice period. Then OCI, they have to do all formalities of leaving their country and coming to India. And people from Nepal, Bhutan, they also have want some time to come to India and do the fellowship. So they usually come in October cohorts, and then fellows for which whom it's difficult to convince their family also, because family doesn't want you to go on a grass social work field. People want to do social work, but not their child. So that is where you have to convince your family to actually let them explore. So those convincing thing also take some time. So that is where October cohort people are from.
Okay. Uh, Thank you so much. Do you think I have not touched anything about the application process, or maybe if I have not asked you anything which is very important and that needs to be told?
No, I think we have covered almost everything that we know that candidates should be aware of when they are applying for this fellowship. And one more thing I wanted to say that you can go and read the work done by our alumni, and that will give you understanding that okay, what kind of work you are going to do on the ground and what kind of changes that you are going to make. As I said, there are 55 enterprises started by our alumni, and then a lot of alumni whose project has been went up to policy level. So there were few projects which done by the fellows, then NGO scaled up, and then government thought that okay, this should be done on the for every part of that state. So government actually implemented that as a policy. So from a fellowship project to a policy level work, there has been a lot of work over there. So go through those work and you'll get to an idea that what you are going to do on the ground, and that will help you in making an informed decisions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nilesh, for going through all the questions, and you really explained it very well. I hope the students or the young generation or even the working professional in their mid careers or senior levels, if they are interested, they'll get benefited with this podcast, because you have touched a lot of things. You have told about what things a fellow can expect on the ground, what are the challenges like the language barrier you told about, and the support that is being provided. So you will get an instructor who will teach you the language, and then on, like, you get time, you don't have to just straight away jump into finalizing your project. You will get time with NGOs, you will get time with the community, just to make a rapport and get an understanding of what needs to be done on the ground. And as you mentioned, the uniqueness of 13-month project, like in the last month you get to intermingle with the peers, the upcoming cohort, and you can share your knowledge with them. Maybe it's a very unique thing that if they are interested, they can take over your project so that it continues on. And you also talked about the sustainability of the projects that's been started, one of them being your peer selecting the project that you had already done, but the other avenues like the funding and making it more viable, or maybe it can be a scalable through different initiatives and the help provided by SBI and the NGOs itself. So I believe it's a very important fellowship, and because it not defines you which background you are from, it doesn't care about what kind of experience or knowledge you have. It all needs is the intent of doing something on the ground. And yeah, like whenever we talk with a fellow, we definitely able to feel the experience they had on the ground, because the last podcast which I did with Rakshit, he explained very well about his project and what were the challenges he had faced on the ground and what shaped his thinking to do much better, to do his work on an further scalable level to the different NGOs he has been into till now, which I believe makes the fellowship very interesting and unique. So thank you so much for coming in and joining me on this podcast. This was the fourth episode, and hopefully we have time, so we will try and advertise it. We will try and post it in different platforms so that students get benefit and they can also able to apply for the fellowship, who are just having a thought in their mind, okay, this is SBI fellowship, but should I apply or not? So those questions could be answered through this podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I think our interaction in this podcast will definitely going to help those people who are seeing this fellowship as a chance to explore something new, and you want to serve country. So that is definitely they're going to gain something from this conversation that we had in last 1 hour. And one last tip is for all those who wanted to
Sure.
explore. Be honest, and I think you said that intent is something what we are looking into any candidate who are applying for the fellowship, and you are going to love this journey because this is one in a lifetime journey. And in previous batches where I've mentored fellows also, and fellows are capable of doing a lot more that we think. Look at the problems at very different angle. Like last batch, we never thought like fellow there's a problem of disability in the urban area. Everyone talk about inclusiveness. Government is doing a lot of things to include those people, but what in rural areas? No one is thinking about them.
Right.
They are just treated as a person who has some curse and they have to live their life. But few fellows who went on the ground thought about them, try to include them in the society. So that was something which was like previously have not been thought on. But few fellows who comes from urban areas and who thought about those people and included them in the society and provided some livelihood opportunity for them. So these kind of changes that you can definitely do and make meaningful impact on the lives of thousands of people who are living in the rural part of the country. So this fellowship has a lot more potential, and that will expose you to the challenging phase. But this is a challenges are there for you to learn something new. So and that will definitely going to change your life. That is definitely going to change your perspective of looking at problems from a different angle. And that is where what I think that this fellowship is making an impact. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. I think I also look forward to people who are applying for this fellowship.
Thank you so much, Nilesh.